With the colony down, the game sends in a man in black. Rimworld's equivalent of a Miracle Tail goes berserk after Cypress's death. She charges against the insects where she's inevitably torn apart. One quick attack and it's gone. Instantly arranges the entire swarm. It's like watching Aliens only with Bisexual and attack them head on. She dies, but it means that we can bring in a brand new crew to inherit this castle. Welcome back. We're back with our 4 bisexual mice, 3 men and 1 woman. The first order of business is to replace our trap gate to the base. You've seen how much I've improved our Rimworld. Kill Striped Tail. Apparently this unkillable forest nightmare just exists to punish players, so you know that's absolutely necessary. Now, since we're running Medieval Overhaul and removed all industrial tech, we've hit a bit of a wall. We cannot progress much further. I need schematics for the next tier of medieval tech upgrades, which means we just research the useless stuff until we get it. While Rai works on the rest of the walls, of course, we get a raid. 10 raiders against our 4 Mousekin. Devastating odds, right? But we've got a castle and they do not. There's only 1 ranged raider, but before we can do anything, the raiders run straight into the Death Stinger nest, hitting at the entrance and start fleeing before even reaching us. We literally skip the entire fight. Thanks, Randy Random. Then we get a quest, the Jagged Grizzly Bears. I accepted because the quest reward is too good to pass up. A Houndslave throwing knife and a Bone Gladius. The knives definitely will come in handy if we have to deal with lycanthropes again. The quest sends 2 grizzly bears our way, but I accept anyway since a raw tribute collector just arrived. I'm thinking as long as they don't leave before the bears show up, we'll be fine. And then, perfect timing. The bears come, the tribute collector never left, and before I can even react, they kill the bears and leave. Easiest quest reward ever. Oh, and we have our first lovers. Whitetooth pursued Petal by making deep observations about cultural differences, and apparently that worked because she responded well and now they're together. Oh, I go ahead and replace their beds with a double bed so they can finally share one. Then Alda, probably not wanting to be left out, decides to pursue Rai by drawing attention to his own hairstyle. Very self-absorbed. Somehow that worked too, and now they're lovers as well. 1 straight couple and 1 gay couple, lovers in the air. Although given Alda's marital history, I'm not holding my breath on this lasting long. And sure enough, after he's done doing him, Alda just gets up and leaves the bed. Suspicious behavior already. And there we have it. Alda asks Rai for a breakup the very next day, after they got together. He literally fucks him then leaves. Wonderful. Rai is now stuck in a perpetual bad mood and it's going to take him a while to get over that one. Officially, no one likes Alda anymore. But emotional pain has to wait because survival always comes first in Rimworld. A manhunter pack of boom rats show up. Petal's outside when they attack, and since she is our melee fighter, which you know isn't ideal against anything that explodes, I get everyone to rush outside and help her. She manages to kill one before getting set on fire and down, so the others rush in to save her. Then of course Rai catches on fire too, but instead of resting he decides the best move is to help put out the flames first. Absolute hero. His burns aren't too bad, thankfully. Petal however ends up with 2 infections, so I force Alda to treat her, since he is still the best doctor, even if nobody likes him right now. When Whitetooth wakes up, the first thing he does is start praying for Petal's recovery. It's clear now, one unfaithful relationship just fell apart, but another one, between Whitetooth and Petal, is becoming something really loyal. Not long after we get a raid from the Sire League, and right on cue, they're instantly attacked by Death Stingers the moment they enter the area. Honestly, it's like our base doesn't even need defenses anymore. The wildlife just does half the work. Since our fortress is mostly solid wall, the raiders spend most of the time pointlessly hacking at the walls, giving us perfect chance to line up shots. They've got bows sure, but somehow their range is worse than ours. Alda's crossbow finally connects, taking out 1 raider. The fight drags on so slowly that Rai starts having a minor motor break wrist, probably from boredom. Nobody can hit anything, but eventually Whitetooth's throwing knives and Rai's blunderbuss land both solid hits and Alda finishes off the straggler. Then just as things look easy, Alda gets hit by a stray arrow, and Rai's right next to him. I think he liked that a bit too much. Before anyone can process that though, Whitetooth throws another knife and downs the last raider, sending the survivors fleeing. Honestly, that raid was less of a battle and more of a tedious shoot exercise. None of our walls even took much damage. It's too early to celebrate. Randy being Randy sends a blight to our onion plants, which is terrible timing since we're already running low on food. Things get worse when Alda starts a fight with Whitetooth. Yeah, great idea, make things worse when everyone literally hates you. Both of them are forced to rest while Rai and Petal take charge of dealing with the blight. Then, because Randy apparently doesn't stop, we get a Psychic Superman, truly randomness at its finest. On the constructive side, I start building a Mousekin mineshaft, and the last part of the third wall, almost finished. What was a disaster 10 minutes ago now looks pretty solid, from bad to good just like that. I then start working on the next major project, fixing the entrance to the whole region. The plan is to turn it into a proper wall so that any raider that has to go through, goes through a spiked corridor to get in. Since they already have to fight through Death Stingers first, they should soften the blow from future raids considerably. The only problem is that the wall is massive, so it's going to take some time. As if to make a point, a war merchant wanders in and immediately gets shredded by the Death Stingers. They do survive, but they're heavily damaged. Meanwhile, a griffin arrives, attacks a giant sloth of food, narrowly missing our Pudge Mouse, which honestly seems like a far too small target anyway. And of course, I'll just start another fight with Whitetooth, classic. The construction of the entrance wall progresses well, though Petal and Rai keep getting harassed by Death Stingers that wander too far from their hive. With all of the broken caravans and useless debris in the way, Rai just destroys everything in his path to keep building. Then of course we get an infestation. Remember last time? That one wiped the colony out. This time I'm not letting that happen. The insects are trapped in a single room, which thankfully stops them from spreading, but I still don't want them anywhere near the colony. I draft the mice, carefully send Whitetooth to lure a single insect out at a time. We manage to kill one of the smaller ones though. Alder takes a small injury. Honestly, that's fine given everything he's done. Next I send the team back in. This round doesn't go perfectly. Whitetooth and Rai get injured, but the insects are all eventually killed. Petal finishes off the hive, ensuring no new insects can spawn. Then Randy fires off a sudden Manhunter psychic wave. This time it's Muffalos on the rampage. Petal is using ranged weapons now. I had learned my lesson after the Boomerang fiasco, and just sniped them all through the embrasure. Turns out Muffalos just don't ram walls, none of them have scaria, so hey, free Randy delivered meat. Of course, immediately after a raid, Randy is not giving us a break. 7 raiders this time. They get scratched up by the Death Stingers, but only a little, so they barrel right down toward the castle. The area entrance wall isn't finished yet, almost but not quite, so they get through fast. With 4 colonists firing at once, the fight goes a lot faster. Most of the raiders are melee, and one of them attacks the gate instead of the walls. Good job, genius, that's the biggest part of the defense. Meanwhile, I realised the Pudge Mouse is wandering outside. I had forgotten to set a zone, and it's just chilling and burying raiders as we're shooting them down. One raider actually hits the Pudge Mouse, but Riot Blunderbuss takes him out. The raiders flee, and since that was Petal's pet, I have her finish off the last raider for revenge. Rai strips the best armor from the dead, and now we officially have our first knight, just, you know, without the title. Then we get a quest for the sole survivors, I take them, figuring that the 2 extra means that we can get more mining and hauling. Of course, Death Stingers are in the way. Gale takes a scratch, but miraculously, they both make it. Once they're out of the high's aggro zone, we're good. With new hands, the main entrance is finally finished. There's a proper wooden spike corridor now, which should slow down any would-be raiders, and I immediately start plotting to make it even longer. The only problem is that the area is littered with old broken caravans and junk, so I get everyone to work smashing up the detritus so we can finally extend the corridor. Naturally, just as things are looking organised, a visitor from House Soren wanders straight into the Death Stinger hive and dies. So much for trade, we inherit a pile of their old clothes. Then, as if on cue, an ancient troll strolls into the map, demonstrating the wisdom of his years. Manages to step right into my spike traps. Now I have to rebuild the whole corridor again. You'd think a creature that old would have learned something about basic spatial awareness, but here we are. Eventually though, the corridor is complete. Raiders be will most likely walk into the Death Stinger hive like everyone else does. There's a spare bedroom ready for Gale, and for Stomp I convert the empty room by the old insect hive into a bedroom workshop. Originally it was going to be a workshop, but with the extra colonist here, we need to convert it quickly. Then I finally put the Mousekin mineshaft to work. It's glorious because it's not gated behind medieval overhaul tech. We skip the slow grind and get steel ingots fast. With raw steel pouring in, I queue up the smithy. Plate leggings, full plate armor, the works. By the time the next raid shows up, Rai and Petal are clanking around in full plate. Petal still needs a helmet, but close enough. Then, right on cue, the Scio League shows up again. 8 raiders this time. They immediately tangle with the Death Stingers, which honestly is the best warning sign a castle can have. After fighting, they shuffle back to the map's edge, loitering for a bit before attacking again. But eventually they do commit. Most of them walk straight into the entrance trap corridor and die. 2 manage to slip through and make it to the castle gates, where Rye, Petal and Gale are waiting to lure them into the spike trap corridor of the castle. The traps make quick work of them. There is another one nearby, but Petal and Rye shoot them down before they can leave. Two of the raiders survive and they flee, because they mostly stay near the entrance. Honestly, this spike trap strategy is beautiful. Every raid just turns into free loot and a lot less cleanup than usual. All that's left is to fix up the traps each time and then wait for the next raid. Finally, everyone's strutting around in full plate except for the refugees, who of course immediately leave. At that exact moment, a cougar decides to self-tame, only for the Death Stingers to ambush it before we can make it to our front door. Just classic Rimworld. Would have been nice to have a pet cougar, but nope. I get stubborn and try and save it anyway. Petal and Rye go for a daring rescue but end up getting harassed by the Death Stingers instead. Meanwhile, the refugees decide to fight the Death Stingers instead of just fleeing out of the area. One by one, the two get down. We do our best to rescue them, really, but Gale dies during the attempt. Stomp, ever the hero, tries to get revenge on us while he's already downed. At that point, I just have Alda drop him where he is. He can stay there. Sometimes you can only do so much. We did what we could, but you can't save everyone on the ring. No break for our mice, because just as we finish with the tragedy of the refugees, a few Muffalos decide to go full berserk. I'd ignored them during the rescue attempt, but now, with the refugees dead, it's time to focus. Rye is still outside. I make him kite the angry Muffalos all the way down to the castle's spike trap corridor. The plan works mostly, but the slab door opens at snail's pace, so one Muffalo manages to squeeze in. But everyone is waiting on the other side, ready to pounce. Rye and Whitetooth go full melee. Petal and Alden lay down covering fire. Turns out Rye's blunderbuss is more of an air horn than a weapon, so the Muffalo just ignores him and goes for Whitetooth's trio of knives instead. Smart animal, but it dies anyway. But if that wasn't enough, a direwolf picks this exact moment to hunt Petal's punch mouse. Of course, it kills our beloved pet. That's not going to slide. I draft Petal, Whitetooth and Alda. The wolf gets executed for its crimes. It should never touch our pets. After weeks of bland, simple meals, I finally came to my colonist's demand for something edible. We slapped together a soup pod for some piping hot vegetable soup. It gives a +2 mood buff, worth every chunk of effort. Just as this kitchen starts smelling better, a mad alpaca sprints in, but since there's a merchant caravan nearby, I have Rye lure the alpaca to them. The merchants deal with it. Rye does get a bit hurt because it was chasing him originally, so off to bed he goes. With the vegetables sorted, it's time to do something about all that questionable meat in storage. Rag out pot. A meat goes into the pot and we get rag out. It doesn't spoil until the fuel runs out, which means less food waste for once, but it does mean we have to constantly put fuel into it. Apparently the news of better food spreads fast. Rye immediately goes on a food binge and just keeps inhaling the Rye immediately goes on a food binge and just keeps inhaling the vegetable soup. One bowl after another. I guess he's making up for lost time. Then a lightning bolt comes down and fries the farm. I get everyone to run out and put the fire out. Meanwhile, I completely miss that outside the castle is on fire, shaped fittingly like a mouse. I swear alpacas in Rimworld have the survival instincts of a potato. They keep wandering straight into the flames one after the other. It's either a mass extinction event or a very efficient, slightly unethical population cull. Honestly, the farm was getting overcrowded anyway. To prevent future roast alpaca events, I get to work on a new pen. No wooden fences this time. If they catch fire now, it's definitely their fault. Just as I finish wrangling the survivors, House Hessa decides to grace us with a raid. Finally, I was starting to think Randy forgot about us, but nope. They all die on the wooden spike traps. The last survivor is so committed to the roleplay that, instead of fleeing, they just collapse dramatically. 10 out of 10 performance. Then, An EMI Dynamo for paid quest pops up. Supposed to knock out all of our electricity, I accept immediately. We're literally in medieval. What electricity? What's he going to do? Turn off the torches? We've got Psylink for Rye out of it, and now if we do get mechanoids later, they'll show up and instantly power down like someone tripped over their extension cord. It's pretty much a gift in disguise. Well, that's where I think I'll end off the video. With the mice getting full metal armor and actually the castle looking like an actual castle, let's see where the next episode will bring them. Until next time.